Anshul Gujarathi, founder and director of Eco-Solutions. She brings over 24 years of experience in green architecture, environment, and sustainability. She delivers green cost neutral projects and has 15 white papers published in international and national journals, an International Best Paper Award from ICAMC Thailand. Additionally, she is reviewer for Elsevier, regularly writes for sustainable magazines and newspapers, and has authored numerous articles and sustainable manuals. Green Garnish, her awareness platforms, promote the right branding for green initiatives. Eco-Solution and Green Garnish aim to apply a multidisciplinary approach to green buildings. Anshul will present a submission on sustainability and approach of real estate sector. So let's warmly welcome Anshul.
Thank you so much for this nice introduction. Firstly, let me congratulate ACE Updates for this very nice topic, that is envelope blueprints for a greener future. And looking at the same flow, I just thought of adding this sustainability and the approach to the real estate sector with the Indian context. So going with the few facts and the trends, so we are one of the largest contributors to country's GDP, which is expected to rise to 13% from 7.3 by 2025. You will find various numbers across the internet, but this is again, I found the largest one, so I have mentioned this. High Power Expert Committee mentions that with the current trend that we are going with the construction industry, GDP is supposed to rise 1.1% every year. Rapid urbanization, of course, migration from rural is one aspect, but we have reverse migration from abroad as well, which is mostly causing aping the West in a large way. And it would be really nice to know that India heads the list of migrants abroad. And that is how lots of ideas from the West are actually dropping in. And it is not only dropping it, but reflecting in our construction and interior sector. Tier 2, Tier 3 also witnessing a major trend of growth with Tier 1. We are actually responsible for 22% of total emissions. And this is only with the real estate industry, which is parallelly contributing separate emissions from transport and infrastructure. And on the contrary, we talk of ESG, net zero, circularity, materials, financing, and not a lot more. So we are one of the largest contributors to country's environmental footprint, we as in the real estate sector. So increasing demands for green buildings, rise in eco-friendly material construction, adoption of practices which are driven by sustainability, and government also supporting and promoting these initiatives. Along with that, the policies that government is helping on with the Smart City Mission, National Green Building Code, subsidies for renewable energies, and implementation of RERA and many other aspects which are further followed by major sustainability drivers for regulatory policies, environmental concerns, consumer awareness and demands, and technological advancements. Going further, starting with the SDG goals, also helping us in a typical manner. As I mentioned during the panel, 9 goals are directly connected to green buildings, while 11th goal talks about sustainable cities and communities, which are ideally sharing the same content as we do with any kind of sustainable practice in the country. The sustainability pillars for real estate sector, if we have to note down, social sustainability with focused awareness, economic sustainability for payback, ROI incentives, and all the more importance is maintenance. Environmental sustainability, definitely green buildings and reduce, reuse, and recycle working. Human sustainability also comes into picture with lots and lots of focus on comfort, health, and working with end user focus. So routine definitions follow, generations are being considered when sustainability comes into picture. But when we talk about real estate, anything actually can be associated. We are talking of sustainable clothing, organic foods. Probably we find it relevant or not relevant. It is definitely connected, and we are defining it ourselves in our own ways. So sustainable development major responsibility ideally would lie with the architect. That is what we believe. That is what any developer believes, or anybody related to this real estate sector will believe, because they can actually aim to maintain a balance between all these three factors. So minimizing environmental impact becomes the major focus of sustainable architecture. Energy efficiency over a life cycle of the building becomes the most important goal, and that is how we can achieve it in two major factors, that is passive design strategies and active design strategies. Passive strategies were highlighted by Nilesh ji, talking of envelope, orientation, material use, and many other aspects. But we are nowadays, with the current heat wave across the country, we are actually seeing the major shift in the active design strategies. And that is why we realize that not only architects, but any designer, as I mean designer of services as well, they are having equal importance and contribution to the project. So let's talk about the stakeholder. Stakeholders become extremely important when we talk about any sustainable development. It's a consortium starting with the client, who is the team, who defines the team, being the owner, and the entire purchase majorly remains in his sector. The investor, he's having a direct or indirect contact with the team and the impact factor as well. The architect or the designer holds the major responsibility, followed by multiple other consultants. Direct use, of course, direct contact with the project having the impact. There is a defined stakeholder, but government authorities, processes, they have an indirect application to the project. They have a relation and relevance to the project, not directly impacting, but definitely governing it. And post-occupancy maintenance staff are one of the major stakeholders who we often neglect. Talking of energy and cost in design phase, construction, and operational phase, that is the life cycle of the building, we definitely see the operational phase goes with 60 to 70% of the energy usage, which is directly also impacting the cost. So the end user is a direct but most impactive stakeholder. So to start with, architect is definitely responsible to make a project sustainable. What do we architects often think? Following sun path, ensuring climate compatibility, efficient envelope, right materials, appropriate heat gains, local materials, performances, thermal comfort, or any design or strategy supporting the purpose, space, aesthetics with respect to climate and location, we can define it to be sustainable. What we end up doing, or our approach becomes, is uniqueness, functionality, purpose, and architecture to remain intact. Comfort and satisfaction by end users, being cost effective and never ever cost intensive. Third party certification, we all want optimum rating, may that be LEED, IGBC, or GREHA, or GEM, or ECBC, that is ECSBC to be soon, or even GNFZ, that Shabir sir is actually heading. And along with all of this, the happiness index should follow with the project. Long-term effective maintenance is very, very important, and the project should come up as a brand. Many of the consultants, many of the stakeholders are not allowed to do direct marketing. So our project becomes our brand. So definitely branding of project, branding of developer, and branding of yourself also comes into picture. But my friends, cost remains a major driving factor for any development. Okay, I'm not saying this without any study, but the survey findings, along with situational analysis methods amongst 2,000 stakeholders, where cost was confirmed to be a major element of concern while evaluating green. So cost conscious percentage ideally supersedes environmental consciousness and social consciousness. There are definitely varied perceptions. Answers are given to sell your product. That is not right. Range, which is based on project, example, or references, which is causing a lot of arguments and controversy. So one developer might come up, oh, green buildings are really costly. I took 100 rupees per square feet. So basis one project, basis the material or choices he had adopted and the cost he had adopted as a base cost. So we cannot define it that way. There are multiple factors to it. So everyone has a different view on cost of green buildings. My friends, mind it, when I did my doctorate in cost implications in green buildings, I did a very detailed study, and I'm glad to share that major stakeholders' decision-making process would ideally define if the costs are going up or not. If the project is designed with Italian marble, and they are saying this is a green material, and I took stone over vitrified tiles, adding so much cost to the project, definitely it's difficult to agree with that. So customers attitude, preferences, and buying pattern will ideally define the cost. Awareness, very important. Awareness is required to support cost studies empirically, and in this absence, definitely green buildings are facing this controversy of cost. Let's see, policies or incentives which are ideally associated with green, are they compensating or sufficing to this added costs? So people say that whatever it is, the incentive mode, it's an incentive. So it is either driving the movement or it is ideally causing that the incentives are offered in order to bridge the gap of additional investments. But friends, that might not be true. Role of government incentives and policies are definitely fostering to the growth, and they are very high in the affordable housing sector. So they were started with affordable housing sector, they are now going to almost every sectors and also having luxury segment taken into consideration. And stakeholder involvement from government sides, developer, and the community sides also find a very major role in this process. Just to highlight major notings with cost, increase or decrease in cost is not directly proportional to the points. Definitely not. Choices will define the cost. Green can be achieved at lower or absolutely no cost impact. So we have been doing it for years. It is running very successfully. And now we have started going not cost neutral, but cost negative. Cost negative in the sense your original cost can be definitely lower. Mind it, your original choices are really, giving us that opportunity. Different ratings will have different varying cost impacts. First costs and payback costs are different. There has to be certain theory which is prevailing to your cost, which is rather relevant and connected to the typology, status, the location, and many other factors. Cost is realized when one stakeholder works disintegrated, their part properly. That is how I do mention that third party certifications make a very important part here, integrating the stakeholders and their work. They have a defined set of guidelines. They will definitely mention the route, and certain things are mandatory, which you don't tend to miss. So this is displaying a few certification programs. And definitely, if I'm telling, the certification definitely proves a very reliable and strong base, but definitely it is not the only benchmark. Evaluation is necessary. So talking of site, water, energy, materials, IQ, and innovations, these are the major heads where all the guidelines can be relevant and designers can drive the green buildings in the desired way. So common misconceptions that they are expensive, of course not. Initial cost can be higher in certain cases, but definitely we have an offset for that. And many practices are simple and cost effective to be followed. Green buildings help in reduced energy and water bills, property value enhancement, healthcare cost, improved living conditions, and job creation as well. And that is why today ESG is majorly adopted in the real estate sector. So it has become an imperative for fostering sustainable growth, social impact, and long-term value creation. BRSRs are mandated, GRI, GRESB, and reporting has been majorly adopted. We now have the next speaker also talking of how GNFZ has been associated with GRESB as well. So mapping the ESG criteria, we have environment, social governance taking place on a very, very higher level, also letting us know our company's vision, mission, aim in a defined way, enhancing and impacting supply chain, carbon footprint, certifications, net zero, green pro reduction in and improvement in sites, ESG assessments, reporting, and taking your company to a global level. So real estate is not limited to a project today. It has been a conglomeration of multiple projects and enhancement of brand value. So when we talk that India pledges to be carbon neutral by 2070, we have to work for it today. And we have already started, and we have a long way to go, a difficult way to go, not limiting ourselves to certain benchmarks or baselines. We have to go much beyond that. So with this note, thank you, ACE Update, for giving me this opportunity. And I hope this was helpful.
Thank you, Anshul, for such an engaging submission on sustainability and approach of real estate sector.